Have you ever wondered why so many sharp, active seniors, people who seemed full of life just a few years earlier, start to fade after age 80? Even those who ate well, exercised, and stayed mentally sharp can suddenly begin to slow down, lose their spark, or struggle with energy and independence. Most people assume it's just bad luck, or blame it all on genetics. But here's the truth, that's only part of the story. In this video, we're going beyond the usual advice. No talk about diet or exercise today, because what really cuts life short after 80 often flies under the radar. These are subtle but powerful shifts that quietly wear down the mind and body, and most people don't even see them coming. Stick with me, because I'm going to reveal 5 unexpected reasons why older adults often stop thriving, and more importantly, what you can do to prevent it before it's too late. Number 1, loss of microsocial engagement. One of the most overlooked reasons many older adults begin to fade after 80 isn't something you'll typically hear about in doctors' offices or health checkups. It's something far more subtle, but just as powerful. It's called microsocial engagement. Now, that might sound like a fancy term, but it's actually very simple. Microsocial engagement refers to the small, everyday social interactions we have without even thinking about them, waving to the neighbor, exchanging a quick joke with the cashier, saying good morning to the mailman, or nodding at someone walking their dog. These moments may seem trivial, but they play a surprisingly important role in keeping the brain, the heart, and even our immune system in good shape. You see, when we engage in these little exchanges, it's not just pleasant, it's physiological. These tiny interactions stimulate our nervous system, activate parts of the brain tied to emotional processing and memory, and help regulate stress. They also subtly remind us that we're still connected to the world around us, that we still belong. And that matters, especially as we age. But here's the problem, after age 80, many people begin to lose those regular touch points with the outside world. And it doesn't usually happen all at once. It's a slow, quiet shift. Maybe they stop going to the store and start ordering groceries online. Maybe they stop walking around the block because their knees hurt, or they feel a little unsteady. Perhaps their hearing has gotten worse, so they avoid small talk because it's just too hard to follow. And before they know it, the natural, daily flow of tiny social moments disappears. Unfortunately, the body and brain feel that loss, even if we don't consciously recognize it. When microsocial engagement fades, a few things start happening under the surface. The immune system weakens. Inflammation starts to increase. The brain's social networks, those that help with attention, memory, and emotional regulation, begin to shrink. And most importantly, a quiet loneliness can begin to settle in. Not the kind that comes from being alone, but the kind that comes from feeling unseen, unnoticed, or irrelevant. And that feeling has a cost. It accelerates aging in ways that are real and measurable. But here's the good news. This is something we can change. And it doesn't require big social events or dramatic lifestyle overhauls. In fact, it's the small stuff that makes the biggest difference. A 5-minute chat with the barista. Saying hello to the person walking past your house. Visiting the local cafe, even if you're just sitting quietly and smiling at familiar faces. These seemingly minor acts send powerful signals to the brain and body that say, I'm still part of something. I'm still connected. I once met a man in his early 80s, let's call him Frank, who lived alone but stayed remarkably sharp and spirited. His secret? Every morning, he walked the same route to a small coffee shop. He greeted the staff, nodded at the same 3 neighbors along the way, and shared a few words with the people at the bus stop. That daily walk, which took no more than 15 minutes, was his lifeline. It gave his day structure, gave his mind stimulation, and kept his sense of belonging alive. Those little greetings weren't routine, they were vital. So if you or someone you love has started to pull back from the world, not out of sadness, but out of convenience or caution, take a moment to reflect. Are those small interactions still happening? Or have they quietly disappeared? If so, it's time to bring them back. Go out for a short walk, chat with a neighbor, or simply sit outside where life is happening around you. Because those fleeting, forgettable moments may be some of the most powerful medicine we have for staying not just alive, but truly alive and engaged, well into our 80s and beyond. Number 2, overcautious inactivity. Another hidden reason many older adults begin to decline after age 80 isn't due to illness or frailty, it's actually the result of being too careful. Yes, being cautious seems wise, especially after a slip or fall. But here's the surprising truth: overcautious inactivity can be just as dangerous as the fall you're trying to avoid. It often starts with the best of intentions. Maybe someone slips on the stairs or stumbles on a rainy sidewalk, not a major injury, just a scare. Naturally, they decide to be more careful. They avoid walking outside when it's damp. They stop bending to reach the lower shelves. They sit more and move less. Family and friends might even praise them for taking it easy. It feels like the right thing to do. But here's where the problem begins. When movement slows down, when we stop stretching, walking, or climbing stairs, the body doesn't stay the same. It starts to weaken. Muscles begin to shrink, especially the ones we don't think about, the deep core muscles that stabilize your posture, help you balance, and even help you get out of a chair. When these muscles go unused, they deteriorate surprisingly fast. And once your balance is affected, you're actually more likely to fall, not less. There's a reason doctors say, use it or lose it. And that's never more true than in our later years. The body needs movement to stay alive. It's like a garden that has to be watered and tended every day. If not, things start to wither. Let me tell you about Walter, a man I once met who was 82 years old. Walter was active and independent. He walked a mile every evening around his neighborhood, rain or shine. But one day, during a drizzle, he slipped. No broken bones, just a bruised ego and a shaken sense of safety. After that, he decided it was safer to stay indoors. One missed walk turned into a week. A week turned into a month. And slowly, Walter lost nearly 10 pounds of muscle. His legs began to feel weak, like jelly, he said. His doctor warned him, but by then, the damage had already started. Walter didn't stop walking because he was weak. He became weak because he stopped walking. Now, don't get me wrong, being cautious is smart. Protecting yourself from real risks matters. But there's a big difference between managing risk and surrendering to it. And unfortunately, many older adults slowly retreat into inactivity, not because they can't move, but because they're afraid of what might happen if they do. So what's the solution? It's not about ignoring danger. It's about moving smarter. That might mean using handrails, wearing supportive shoes, clearing walkways to avoid tripping hazards, or even using a cane or walker to boost confidence. These aren't signs of weakness, they're tools for freedom. Because what matters most is keeping the body in motion. Daily movement, even gentle, even slow, is what keeps your heart pumping, your joints limber, and your brain engaged. It's how your body remembers it's still needed. Even 5 minutes of walking, some gentle stretches, or simply standing up and sitting down several times a day can make a huge difference. So if you've found yourself sitting more than you used to, or hesitating to do the activities you once enjoyed, pause and ask yourself, is this fear keeping me safe, or is it quietly making me weaker? Because the truth is, staying alive after 80 isn't just about preventing injury. It's about telling your body every day, I'm still here. I still move. I still matter. Keep moving. Carefully, yes, but confidently, too. That's how you hold on to your strength, your independence, and your vitality long after 80. Number 3. Disrupted sleep from irregular light exposure. Let's talk about something many people over 80 overlook: light. Not the light from your bedside lamp or your TV screen, but natural light. Believe it or not, the amount and type of light you're exposed to throughout the day plays a huge role in how well you sleep, how alert you feel, how your immune system functions, and even how your brain stays sharp. And as we get older, our bodies become even more sensitive to this. You see, your body runs on an internal clock called the circadian rhythm. It's not something you can hear ticking, but it silently controls everything from your sleep patterns and hormone release to digestion, memory, and immune function. And this clock relies heavily on one thing to stay on track: light. Here's the problem. As we age, especially after 80, we tend to spend more and more time indoors. It might be too cold to go out in winter. Or we simply fall into quieter routines inside the house. And without that bright morning sunlight to reset our internal clocks each day, the body starts to lose its rhythm. Morning energy fades. Sleep becomes patchy. We feel groggy even after a full night in bed. Then there's the other side of the day: evening light. Our homes are filled with artificial brightness, TVs, phones, overhead lights, that we often keep on late into the night. And that exposure to blue light, especially in the evening, tricks our brain into thinking it's still daytime. As a result, our body holds off on releasing melatonin, the hormone that helps us relax and fall into deep, healing sleep. The consequences can be subtle at first but become more noticeable over time. You might struggle to fall asleep or wake up multiple times at night. You may feel tired during the day, even after sleeping. Daytime fatigue, brain fog, and lower immunity start creeping in. And let's not forget about vitamin D, another critical nutrient that our skin produces when exposed to sunlight. After 80, our ability to make vitamin D through the skin naturally declines, so regular exposure becomes even more important. Now, here's the good news. This is something you can start correcting today, and it doesn't require any medication, just a little sunshine. First, aim to get natural light within an hour of waking up. That can be as simple as stepping outside on your porch, opening your blinds wide, or sitting by a sunny window for 15 to 20 minutes. Let the daylight hit your eyes, without sunglasses if possible, and your body will get the message. It's time to wake up, get moving, and stay alert. Second, start winding down your exposure to bright lights about an hour before bedtime. Turn off or dim your screens, use softer lighting, and give your brain the darkness it needs to start producing melatonin. You can also try using warm-colored light bulbs or reading by a small lamp in the evening. I remember hearing about an older woman named Helen who had been struggling with poor sleep and constant tiredness. Her blood work looked fine. Her diet was okay. But the solution didn't come from a pill. It came from her doctor's advice to simply sit by a sunny window each morning and turn off screens an hour before bed. Within 2 weeks, her energy improved, her sleep deepened, and her mood lifted. It's incredible what happens when you sync your body back to its natural rhythms. So if you've been feeling tired during the day, having trouble sleeping at night, or just don't feel as sharp as you used to, don't overlook the power of light. Because sometimes, the path to better sleep, sharper thinking, and stronger immunity starts with something as simple as stepping into the sun. Number 4. Emotional suppression from loss and isolation. By the time someone reaches their 80s, they've often experienced more loss than most younger people can even begin to imagine. A spouse, a sibling, lifelong friends, sometimes even a child. These are not just emotional wounds, they're deep shifts in how a person sees the world and their place in it. Yet, despite this emotional weight, society often expects older adults to be used to it by now. There's this quiet, unspoken message that grief should somehow fade with age, that mourning has an expiration date. But the truth is, it doesn't. Many older adults don't talk about their pain, not because they don't feel it, but because they don't know where to put it. The world around them may offer a kind smile or a sympathetic nod, but the deeper conversations, the ones that let someone truly express what they've lost, are often missing. Over time, that silence becomes a habit. The grief doesn't go away, it just gets buried. And here's the important part: the body doesn't forget what the heart hasn't processed. When grief remains unspoken or unexpressed, it doesn't just stay in the mind, it begins to live in the body. You may not feel it as sadness, but you might feel it as fatigue, as tight shoulders, shallow breathing, or even a spark that feels like it's dimmed inside you. Studies have shown that suppressed emotions, especially grief, can quietly affect the body in powerful ways. It can lower the immune system, disrupt digestion, throw hormones out of balance, and keep the nervous system stuck in a constant low-level state of tension. Over time, this emotional weight becomes physical, it drains energy, motivation, and that sense of vitality that keeps us going. I remember hearing about George, a man in his mid-80s who had lost his wife of 60 years. He said he was fine, he didn't cry much, just kept to his routines. But over the next year, he lost weight, stopped going to his weekly card games, and began sleeping poorly. Not because of illness or injury, but because his grief never had a place to go. It stayed locked inside, where it slowly began affecting his body and spirit. What's important to understand is this: emotional pain doesn't need to be loud to be harmful. You don't have to be weeping every day for grief to be real. Even quiet sorrow, if left unacknowledged, can shape your health in very real ways. So what can you do? The answer is not to stop grieving, it's to start expressing. That might mean talking openly with a trusted friend who knows your history. It could be writing your thoughts and feelings in a journal, even if no one else ever reads it. For some, connection to a faith community or support group brings comfort and clarity. And for others, a therapist, someone trained to help unpack decades of stories and feelings, can offer an outlet for healing that's long overdue. There's no right way to grieve. But there is a wrong way, silently, alone, and indefinitely. If you're carrying something that you've never had the space to speak about, consider this a gentle invitation. Your emotions are not a burden. They are part of your story, and expressing them is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's one of the strongest, healthiest things you can do. Because in the end, it's not just the heart that grieves, it's the whole body. And when you allow your heart to feel again, your body can begin to heal too. That's how you not only survive after 80, you live, with lightness, connection, and the freedom that comes from letting go. Number 5, loss of daily purpose and routine. One of the most invisible, yet powerful, reasons older adults struggle to thrive after 80 is something most people don't even notice at first: it's the loss of daily purpose. And no, I'm not talking about some grand, philosophical life purpose. I'm talking about the small, ordinary kind of purpose, the kind that gives your day a shape, a rhythm, a reason to get up and move. As we age, especially past 80, many of the roles and responsibilities that once gave us structure begin to fade. Maybe you've retired. Maybe your children are grown and visit less often. Maybe your volunteer position ended, or your friends stopped meeting weekly for cards or coffee. Slowly but surely, the things that used to bring motion and meaning to your day slip away, and the days start to feel quieter, more repetitive, even a little empty. Without those daily anchors, something subtle but significant happens. The mind starts to disengage. Your appetite might decrease. You might sleep more, move less, and feel your energy taper off. Even your memory and mood can begin to dim, not from illness, but from the simple absence of stimulation. It's as if your body is asking, why get going if there's nothing to go toward? What many people don't realize is that the brain and body are deeply connected to our sense of usefulness. When you no longer feel needed or involved, your systems start to downshift. Not because they're broken, but because they're waiting for direction. Purpose, even small, quiet purpose, is like fuel. It sends a message to every cell: we're still in motion. Keep going. Let me tell you about Ruth, a remarkable woman I once met who was 88 years old. She didn't have a big family or a packed social calendar. She wasn't in perfect health. But she radiated energy and clarity. Her secret? Routine. Every Monday, she wrote postcards to shut-ins from her church. Every Thursday, she cooked a big pot of soup and froze it for a local shelter. And every weekday at 4 p.m., she sat by her window to watch the neighborhood kids walk home from school. She knew their names, she waved to them, and they waved back. It wasn't flashy or profound. But it gave her days texture. It gave her life continuity. And that made all the difference. So how can you bring that kind of purpose into your life or into the life of a loved one? Start small. Purpose doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as watering a plant each morning, feeding a pet, writing a note or calling someone you care about, or sitting down to read a passage out loud or say a prayer each day. What matters most isn't the scale of the task, it's the consistency. Create tiny rituals that bring rhythm to your day. Let them be something you can look forward to, something that marks time, something that gently says, I'm still part of the world. Because when you have something, even just one thing, that brings meaning to your morning or comfort to your evening, it helps you stay grounded. It keeps your heart beating not just because it has to, but because it wants to. If you've noticed the days blending together or feeling a bit shapeless, don't ignore that. It's not just boredom. It's your body asking for purpose, for structure, for connection. And the beautiful thing is, it's never too late to give yourself that gift. So start small. Start today. Give your day a reason to rise. Because that simple choice, to stay engaged, to stay involved, to still matter, is often what separates aging from truly living. Aging after 80 rarely comes from one big event, it's the small, silent shifts that quietly wear us down: less movement, fewer conversations, disrupted sleep, unspoken grief, and a fading sense of purpose. But the good news? Each one can be reversed, one small step at a time. Maybe it's a morning walk, a wave to a neighbor, or journaling what you feel. You have more power than you think, not just to live longer, but to live better. So, which of these 5 surprised you the most? And which one will you start working on today? If this video resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful content that empowers you to age with strength, purpose, and joy.